Hey there, in this video we're going to do the last one of this kind of tracking. This one we're going to do it manually, frame by frame. It's going to be monotonous. Okay, I'm going to show you some tricks to speed it up, but there are just times where you just manually need to track things in After Effects rather than trying to rely on things like motion tracking. They work some of the times, but not all the time. We'll also do, see the red box there? Okay, we're going to do that where we're going to use layer modes instead of opacity, and of course we'll use the typewriter effect. All right, let's get in there and start making. All right, we're going to continue on with the same project. You can open up a new one if you like, it doesn't matter. We're going to make a new composition. Okay, we're going to call this one Line Madness. It does get a bit maddening. Okay, we're going to have it 5 seconds, color background, black. Okay, and we're going to bring in a file. It's called Adobe Stock. It's in 09 real life. We're going to put it in here. Okay, and it plays, it's got this cool letterpress, old school hand powered. Okay, his foot's pushing down this thing and old school letterpress. Cool, so we want to follow some bits and pieces. Now it looks like it kind of goes up and down, but it doesn't. It goes around and around a circle because of all the gearing. So we can't just use our technique from earlier. Remember when the New York just kind of slid past nicely? It's not going to work. So we have to do it manually, keyframe by keyframe. And this is true of lots of real life action stuff. The camera tracker, motion tracker thing works occasionally. Okay, and you end up just kind of manually going and fixing it anyway. So in this case, we're just going to manually do these little lines. So what we're going to do is have nothing selected, because remember, if we have our pen tool and this layer selected, it does doesn't create a new layer, just makes a mask on top of the video. So pen tool, nothing selected. I am going to select about there, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to probably use, what am I going to use? I'm probably going to use the top of this bolt here, maybe this bit, maybe just the center. Okay, the center is always there, I can always see it. Great, so that's my first part. Okay, so now what I want to do, I'm going to zoom out so I can see everything. I'm going to click off. Okay, make sure your playhead's at the beginning. I'm going to open this up, and we need to get the keyframes going. So I'm opening the shape layer 1. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call this one my line. Okay, and we're finding this one called path. Set the timer going for path, and now we get to work, and basically we're going to frame by frame move this thing. Okay, so let's get in there. The one thing to do, remember, is to click off, click back on with the pen tool. Where is he? My line, and then click on this endpoint once. Okay, and you'll notice they are different colors, and if I give it a wiggle, okay, it's attached. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how I do it. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. I'm doing it manually. Cool, what I actually might do is follow this thing here. It's a little bit clearer to follow. Okay, and yeah, you kind of move the timeline along. And you move it up. And you move the timeline along. And you move it up. And you go bananas. Okay, now you might think, man, it's got to be an easy way. Camera tracking or the motion tracking works some of the time, but I often find, especially for short clips, this is 5 seconds long, it's going to be fine. It'll take me maybe 4 or 5 minutes, but you can spend half an hour trying to get camera tracking working. And yeah, okay, so my advice, stick headphones on and just get into the rhythm and just start moving along a few keyframes using a few shortcuts, and I'll show you those now. So instead of kind of moving the timeline along and then trying to adjust it, okay, it can take forever. So what you do is you hold down Command on a Mac or Control on a PC. And can you see down your cursors, the arrow keys, up, down, left, right? Just tap the right arrow and just moves, you can see my timeline just moved along one frame. You can go forward and back. Okay, so I'm zooming in, okay, and then next frame, along, next frame, and you do get into a bit of rhythm. You can get even more shortcuts going, because if I go Command to the right and I just use my cursors without Command, so just my cursors, nothing else holding down, can you see I can kind of just tap this thing around? And if I hold Shift while I move it, it kind of moves around in big chunks. So we're getting a little bit shortcutty now, but so Command right to go along a frame, and then Shift using my arrow keys to move it around in big chunks, and then I can let go of Shift, just tap these just to do little bitty pieces. So Command, big pieces, little pieces. Command plus, big pieces, little pieces. Command right, Shift, up, down, left, right. Okay, so what we're going to do now is speed this up because you're like, man, I got the hang of it. How long can this take? And I'll time myself and see how long it takes. Like we've been kind of messing around a bit, and we're nearly kind of like 1/5 the way through. If you've got a 25-minute video to try and track something, no, you spend half an hour trying to get motion tracking going. Yeah, all right, let's go through fast mode. All right, I'm back. How good does it look? Let's have a look. Okay, I was out that for about, I don't know, 7 minutes, 6 minutes, something like that. Okay, and it follows pretty perfect. Okay, frame by frame. Okay, and the problem, I guess, is that you can barely tell that it's so perfect. So you could have maybe skipped every second frame and done it. Now, yeah, if I was doing a live action like the last tutorial, totally need, because it's so long, okay, you're going to need to try and get tracking going. But just know that a lot of the time, poor old grunts are lining pixels up frame by frame. All right, that's going to be kind of it for the tutorial. We're going to finish it off like you saw in the intro with a bit of a box and some type. Okay, so hang around. Okay, so I'm going to make sure nothing is selected. Grab my big rectangle tool, give it a fill color of red. I'm going to give it no stroke. I'm going to draw out a box like this. Okay, and we've been lowering the opacity up until now. Okay, I'm going to call this one, give it a name, red box. Great, Dan. So we've been in transparency. I'm going to close all that down and lowering it down. And that looks okay. Okay, it's faded box. It looks good on black, but for colors, it just kind of washes out. I feel it does anyway. So we're going to look at something called layer mode. So with it selected, instead of using opacity, we're going to go from, you might have to toggle from switches to modes. Remember track mats from earlier on in parenting? Okay, so we want modes, and I want to switch from normal. Okay, and if you're from Photoshop or any other design program that uses layer modes, it's the same here in After Effects. It will really depend on which option. There's no like different one to use. Multiply is pretty consistent. Okay, you can see there, it's kind of cool. It's kind of, you see it just interacts with the background differently. So go through, unfortunately you have to go through and click all of these to figure out, do I like lighten or do I like soft light? Okay, they all have really kind of slightly different effects, especially if you're using a different color on the top and a different color on the background. They have different effects. So I've had a little play around with this one, and I like multiply, I think. Multiply, it's kind of dark, but it kind of mixes with the background a lot nicer. I'm going to add some type. Okay, so in your exercise files, there's one called letterpress fact. I'm going to copy that. And in here, grab the type tool. We've been clicking once a lot of time and just typing it in and manually putting in returns. I'm going to click, hold, and drag so it's a box and it's got kind of an edge on it. Now I'm going to paste that text in. I have to lower the font so it fits in. Cool. Let's go to fit. My problem with that type is it's probably not going to be readable, maybe. It's a bit small. And we're going to add that type effect. I've picked Courier just because it looks like a typewriter. Okay. So let's add that type effect. It's still there, typewriter. Drag it on. Okay. And hopefully it's going to go along there and then start typing. Awesome. All right. One last time through, we can watch our little line go up and down and a little type come in. Okay. Yeah, that's it for this tutorial. I will see you in the next video.